I'd like to welcome everybody. Craig Peterson, ESUCC Cooperative Purchasing Director. And today we have Randy Herrick with Voss Lighting here to share some LED upgrades and energy savings and how you can work through the cooperative to do that. So Randy, I'll hand it over to you. Have you make your presentation. We are recording today, so we'll provide this link out to everybody, and then we can utilize this and have it available up on our website. So Randy.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Thanks everyone for joining this morning. I realize these last few weeks of school become hectic as any during the school year, so your willingness to join and listen in is very much appreciated. So we'll jump right in this out of respect for your time, and we'll hop into the next slide if you would, Craig. So today what we're going to talk about are the 5 easy steps, our 5-step process to lighting upgrades with LED technology in your school buildings. I'm going to go into each of these steps in pretty good detail. So we'll talk about the discovery meeting, which is the critical meeting up front to really get an understanding where you sit today, what your thoughts are, what the benefits you feel will come from LED, and we'll expand on that thought process. We'll get into doing the facility survey and then presenting that through an audit presentation, and then of course the development proposal and project delivery. So let's move on into the discovery meeting. This is the real guts of our process and really brings everything out into the light, no pun intended there, for you to understand what can take place with LED upgrades. So what we want to do is discover what challenges you have. You may want to do LED upgrades, but there's a funding challenge that you can't get over. It's on the back burner. It's low on the priority list. Whatever those challenges are, we help you find ways to overcome those so you can bring a lighting upgrade project to the forefront. We talk about the benefits. You may be looking at this because it's going to enhance your learning environment. There also could be safety and security, or as we all know, LED is very efficient. So there's energy savings, but we also want to uncover the maintenance savings that are going to take place for you. And we're doing this because we want to shift the focus from a cost project to a net investment for you. We're trying to help you identify unrealized assets, reallocation of cost. And the best way to explain that is maybe to share a couple case studies. And for example, we're working with a school district where the superintendent wants to do LED lighting upgrades, but he has a couple other major facility improvement measures he wants to get done first. So he's thinking this is going to be 3 years down the road before he gets to it. So we started talking about, okay, where's your funding? Where's your dollar sitting? Where can you finance? Depreciation, how are you using that? Well, depreciation was going to be used for his major projects over the next 2 years. So that was out of the question. Then we talked about building fund levy, and they're trying to build that building fund levy up. So 5 years down the road, it's big enough to do a major project then. So we simply talked about, you realize that LED lighting is going to present you with a pretty good energy savings. So we kind of did an estimate of what those energy savings would be. They'd be in the 20 to 30,000 range for this school district per year. So we said you could take that building fund levy and use that money today, and then 4 to 5 years down the road, when you want to do this major project that you're stockpiling funds for, all that money will be put back in through the annual $25,000, $30,000 in energy savings. So that just opened the door and made this superintendent realize that, hey, yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't thinking of that. Why don't you come and get this started for us? So there was an unrealized asset example that we were able to talk through with them. Another one may be lease purchase, where we ran into one facility where they just had no money. They just didn't have anything set aside being built up, and they were really cash poor. So we looked at a lease purchase and we're able to put a 6-year lease purchase program together, whereas the energy and maintenance savings was greater than their payment for lease purchase. And they're actually putting about $300 a month back into their operating budget. So it was a way to do it within their operating expenses and do it as a lease purchase. So we were able to see that in the discovery meeting. A third example, and then we'll move on, is reallocation of cost. We had a school district that had earmarked dollars for roofing. We all know about roofing because that's where a lot of your big dollars go to once they're out of warranty. And they had $200,000 earmarked to do a roof. So when we went in to do our facility survey, which is the next slide we'll get to in a minute, we brought in our experts on roofing to take a look and see what really was going on there. Did they need a new roof, or was there just some simple repairs that could lengthen the life expectancy of that roof? And we were able to identify some minor repairs of $24,000. And then we warranted that for an additional 7 years. So they were able to take that $176,000, reallocate it, and do the project that they didn't think they could do. So in that discovery meeting, we helped get over the challenges, which typically tend to be on the funding side, help think through those. But then we take it a step further. And right here, we will, in that first discovery meeting, we talk about what that net investment looks like. And a typical rural school building runs around 100,000 square feet. So that's the example I used here. But when we sit down, we'll say, okay, what is your square footage? And if that's not known, that's always right on the first or second page of your property insurance pamphlet. So it's easy to get access to that number. We're seeing the cost to do an LED upgrade has been $1 a square foot. And as we all know, with cost escalations, that's creeping up. So it's kind of a moving target right now. So I just used a high level of $1.20 for this example. So you have a $120,000 project, take out about $8,000 in rebates. Your net project investment is $112,000. We ask you what your annual electric cost is. Everyone tends to know that or has a pretty good idea because that is a high cost in the operating maintenance budget. And in this example, if it's 120,000, we know about 40% of a school's electric bill goes to lighting. So that means 48,000 a year is being spent on lighting. We also know that we can help save 50 to 60% when we go to LED. So using the conservative 50%, there's a $24,000 savings there. That divided into the project is a 4.7 year simple payback. So the example I used above, talking about the lease purchase, that's how we worked through that in the very first meeting. Said, well, if we can do this, would you have interest in moving forward? So right here and now on this discovery meeting is where we figure out, okay, you have a desire to do LED. You just didn't know if it was in the cards to do it this year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. This gives you a great opportunity to determine right here and there on this meeting whether to proceed in this upcoming year. So if we agree this all makes sense, we then go on to the second step, which Craig is the facility. Thanks, Craig. That was very, very quick and on the spot there. The facility survey. And in this, we're going to go through the walkthrough of the building. You may be considering doing your classrooms, halls, gyms, and offices, all the indoor type of areas. But we're going to look outdoors too, even if that's not being considered, just because you never know what can be identified. We're going to look out there because we're going to look at the safety and security issues that you may be overlooking or hadn't thought about. Or we can even look at the sports fields and see what's going on in those places. And even to bring maybe better aesthetics to your building and really show them off by looking at putting some lighting on the building or on signage out there. So we'll look at it from that point of view on the outside as well as the inside. And we're always going to interview your staff to identify the challenges. I mean, we all know once you get into conversation, things start coming up that just remind you that, hey, I've always been meaning to talk to so and so about this. So here today, you've just made me think of this again. So I would like to have you consider doing something on a stairwell or in a locker room or what have you. So we want to always talk to staff. But the key thing is we want to think holistically. We want to know if there are other facility improvement measures. We'll go back to the roof. That's a great example of looking holistically and thinking holistically. Um, if funds are already earmarked or not. So it's very important to not just think of the lighting, because you may have something on the back burner that just doesn't make sense to do. It'd be nice to do, but you just don't have the funding. Well, if you start looking at an LED, the cost savings that gets generated, that may be the way to fund this back burner project that just been sitting there for years. So great opportunity to look holistically and think of everything that's out there to help you get more done than just lighting. And the other two components of that survey is we'll ask for the actual electricity invoices so we can give you accurate numbers that we just shared on that high level project investment cost analysis in the discovery meeting. So we'll get the actual numbers there so we can validate what we shared prior to, and also the maintenance. And when we talk maintenance, we're basically talking the material costs, what you're paying for bulbs and ballast, and if you use an outside contractor, what the cost of that is as well. So that's the second step. And then on to the third step, Craig, is the preliminary audit. So we go back after we've done our survey and we put this audit together. Now this is taking that high level net investment we shared in the discovery meeting and putting it into actual specific numbers. And I highlight we remove cost focus because it is all about a net investment. It's no longer a cost to the school district. This is something that is a very positive approach and a solution to help improve the learning environment and reduce the operating budget. So that's going to identify the cost savings that comes with it. That's going to give you your simple payback and return on investment. And then this is where we have the opportunity to discuss those bundled solutions. We'll come with this audit, and that's why we say preliminary, because we're coming back and we're saying, here's an opportunity to do something. Maybe it's a wow factor where we add controls to the gymnasium lighting, something that in the past was an inexpensive endeavor, but now it's gotten very inexpensive to install due to all the wireless solutions that are out there. So it may be where we bring in a controls to a gymnasium. It just providing this audit is just going to allow you to make a good business decision if it makes sense to proceed on to an actual proposal. At this point, everything we're doing is to help you get to the place where you can make that good business decision. So once we bring this back to you, then it's a matter, do you want to commit and proceed? And that'll take us to the next slide, Craig, where we talk about a letter of intent, which is nothing financially binding. It's just a good faith document or a good faith Board of Education resolution that's put into the board minutes. That typically is a way a lot of school districts will do it. But basically what we're doing here is just saying, okay, now we're ready to go into final development, because now we have an understanding from what you told us you want to bundle, excuse me, bundle in with it, if anything, or just stay with the original scope of work. But then we also have to determine, how do you want to procure it? Is it a turnkey where Voss Lighting handles everything from this design development up to where we are now of actually providing the product, installing the product, and taking it to full completion? Or is it more of a hybrid solution where we have done the development, provide the product, and maybe coordinate the project, but you use a preferred contractor to do the install? or you want to bid it out just to appease the community or board members, meaning we're already vetted with our pricing through the ESU co-op, as you know, so that competitive bidding has already taken place, so we meet that requirement. But maybe the board says, hey, we still want to bid out the labor just to show that we are being good stewards of our money. And we've done that recently, and it's a project we're working on this summer for a school district where we developed and designed and provided product and we're managing the project, but we took everything off the school district's plate and put the request for bids into the newspaper to meet state statutes. So solicited those bids for the school district, handled all the inquiries that came in, handled all the walkthroughs that were requested, and then got the pricing and referrals and financial information on them and provided that to the school district to then make their decision on which one of those they wanted to go with. So everything was off of their plate until the final decision to approve the low bid or what they felt was the best bid if low wasn't because of referral situations or what have you. So ended up, we have a proposal that the district is approved from Voss Lighting, and they have a proposal from the electrical contractor that they have approved that's being billed directly to them. So now we're collaborating and working closely with the electrical contractor to get the project done this summer. Or maybe a multi-phased approach, where even after we looked at all the funding options, it still just was not enough funds to get everything done. We can easily put it into multi-year or maybe knowing fiscal years end in the summer, get some of it done in the summer, and then the remaining little portion done over Christmas break in the next year's school year's budget. So when I talk about co-authoring a letter of intent, we're just saying, let's work together to figure out how to deliver this home. And then you also tell us, here's the expectations. We're saying, okay, we want to proceed, but we're only going to proceed if you come back with a maximum investment that we're willing to pay, with a return on investment of, say, under 5 years, 6 years, whatever you think is realistic to put there. And maybe you have preferred contractor you want to use. If it's not a bid situation, or if there's a way, a workaround to include those, we have no problem with that. So that gives us our marching orders to go back and finalize our proposal and come back by meeting what you've laid out in this letter of intent phase of the process. Go ahead, Craig. So then we go back and we develop the project and finalize the scope based on what we decided in the step prior to. And I kind of want to step back for a minute on the preferred contractor, because I know so many districts have preferred contractors for all the different trades. And anytime we can include those because of your desire, we're going to do that. But I also want to mention that I wouldn't rely strictly on a preferred contractor to do an electrical lighting project, just because that's what we do day in and day out. Lighting is all we do. And we're going to come in on any of this development and determine specific lights, specific fixtures, the number of lights and fixtures. And I wanted to give an example. We had a school last summer that was going to use their preferred contractor to upgrade all their gymnasium lighting. They had 53 high bay lights in that gymnasium. The preferred contractor would come back in and put like for like. Sure, he'd get rid of the metal halide. He'd come in with LED, but he was going to put 53 more of those up again. We did the analytics and photometrics of that gymnasium and determined the light distribution, and was able to take them 53 fixtures and reduce it to 38. So it was very value added for that school to ask us to do that, because they just saved a lot of money by reducing the fixture count by 15 fixtures. So that was a great value add. So I just wanted to stress that we bring a lot of value to your contractors by including us. Even if you have them do the install, bring us in for the development and the product, and you would be well off. So in this stage, it's very elementary. We're finalizing the investment amounts and coming back and presenting that to you. And then once we met everything that you put on the letter of intent to hold us accountable, then it's pretty much a no-brainer to move forward with the project and mobilize. And then we just help manage the project, whether it's a turnkey hybrid or whatever you select. We're going to be engaged. We're not going to step away from it. We'll stay engaged and handle the warranty and everything after completion. Last slide, Craig. So ending it, why Voss Lighting? I just wanted to stress these things because we buy direct from manufacturers, which obviously is going to keep your costs down. There's no middle person. We have the buying power. We've been around since 1939, and we work with the leading manufacturers in the world. Philips is one of the top 3. And that's a go-to manufacturer for us, but they don't manufacture every style and type of light and fixture. So we have others too, but I want to stress that we only work with these leading ones in the world because they provide better quality, which is going to mean lower life cycle costs, less often replacement. And a lot of people don't understand this, but all LED is not the same. There is definitely a difference in quality. So that's very important to know. And I just went over this customer preferred contractors. We bring value add, but the key thing is we focus on doing projects that are going to have no to little impact on your operating budgets. And then last, I don't have it up here and shame on me, but we have contracts with the state of Nebraska to provide lighting for all of their facilities throughout the state. And of course, we have contract with Craig's program to do the same with public schools. And I bring those 2 contracts up because that shows that we are well respected and have competitive pricing, or we wouldn't be having these contracts with the 2 largest entities in the state of Nebraska. So that's a quick overview of the 5-step process. And at this time, Craig, I'd let you open it up. So if there's questions, we can fire away.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and unmute yourselves, and Randy or myself should be able to answer those. So any questions?
I did good.
Randy, you did such a wonderful job. There's no questions. How can we beat that presentation? Russ Coe.
Thank you, Russ. Good to hear from you.
Good. Yeah, good to see you.
Hey, this is Jeff Glosser. Is there a way we could get this presentation sent to us as well?
Yes, I can share that out with those that have registered, and we're also recording this. So this presentation will be up probably later this afternoon on our YouTube channel. So we'll post that on our website at esucc.org also. Under the co-op page. Any other questions? If not, I thank everybody for connecting today. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to myself or Randy. And if you need Randy's contact information, that is listed in our online marketplace. You just find the Voss logo and click on that logo, and his information will be in the lower right-hand corner. So, or you can always reach out to me and I can send it to you directly too. So appreciate everybody joining. Have a good day.